Good afternoon. I am attorney Catherine Henry, and I come to you today. Well, okay, first it said it was going, now it said it's going again. So, in case you didn't hear my first little bit of my intro, I am attorney Catherine Henry, and I'm coming to you today not so much as an attorney, but as a human being and as a Christian. And I'm asking for you to join me in prayer. There's a lot of stuff that's weighing very heavy on my heart these days, and we as humans can only do so much. The rest we have to leave up to God. And we have to know when to ask Him for help and when to encourage each other to turn to Him as well. So that's what this video is about right now. And yes, I will do an update video on the Restore Freedom with Catherine Henry page after this to discuss some updates on the Supreme Court case. But that's not what this video is. So, I don't really have a lot of comfort in praying in public, and yet I am now praying on Facebook with almost, what do I have now? 4,000 or 5,000 friends, and yeah, I don't know, 3,000 people that follow me or something like that. Not to mention I'm doing this video public, so millions and millions of people in the world can view this. Needless to say, I am entirely out of my comfort zone in doing this, but I ask you to join me anyway. And obviously to show me some grace, since I am so far out of my comfort zone in doing this. This might not make sense given the context of things, but I'm just going to ask you to hang in there with me, and we'll go from there. In Romans 1:18, it says that the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Verses 29 through 31, they are gossips and slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Verses 2:8, but for those who are self-seeking and who reject the truth and follow evil, there will be wrath and anger. It is those who obey the law who will be declared righteous. 2:23. You dishonor God by breaking the law. Verse 3:31. We honor God by upholding the law. 8:28, and this is in Romans. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. And I want to pause right there because I want to let each and every one of you know that in all things God does work for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Well, who has been called? Who is God calling right now? God is calling you. God is calling you to watch. God is calling you to join in this prayer. God is calling you to lift each other up and encourage each other to take action in these dark and scary times. God is calling you to homeschool your children when you never thought it would be possible. God is calling you to fight for others who cannot fight for themselves. God is calling you to help help others fight for others, help financially or help by gathering signatures, help by continually encouraging each other and building each other up. God is calling each one of you for that purpose, to give of your skills and abilities and talents and experience. The person that God made you uniquely to be, God is calling you to utilize what He gave you to serve His mission, to help His people. Whether you have been a stay-at-home mom your whole life and are entirely uncomfortable with doing things in public, or maybe you never finished high school or college and you feel like you're so uneducated you couldn't possibly step out and help to educate people on their rights or help to fight for others, or whether you feel like there's just plain too much evil in the world right now for you to possibly make a dent in any of it. God is calling you. God is calling all of His people, and it's about time we take it seriously. Don't leave it for somebody else. Don't leave it to the pastor somewhere. Don't leave it to the high-priced attorneys somewhere. Don't leave it to professionals or to people who are comfortable with being in the spotlight. I absolutely hate Facebook. Hate it. I hate Facebook Live videos. Absolutely hate doing them. I would much rather not have a Facebook account at all. But I'm called to connect with people and educate people and help them. So I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, and I'm asking you to do the same thing. God is calling you. He's calling you now. Not when you have more money, not when you have more time, not when you have more patience. He's calling you now. Things are bad now. God's army better step up now. And for those of you who criticize me for being emotional in my videos, you might want to just turn this one off, because this is emotional for me. So if that's too much for you to handle, just click onto something else. But I don't want any of your negativity. I am overwhelmed with negativity these days. If your heart is in the right place, you should ask yourself, are you doing harm or are you helping? Anytime you say words, anytime you take an action or don't take an action or don't say words, are you harming or are you helping? So I'm going to ask you, be kind to each other, because I'm here by myself right now. I don't have anybody watching this stream. Sign up on the website. Tim, I'm assuming you mean to volunteer. If so, we had a roadblock with some volunteers that we've had in helping to get other volunteers on board, and we have some other people that are kind of stepping in to fill those temporary gaps to reach out and get people involved. So if you have gone through restorefreedommi.com, which is now restorefreedomkh.com, we will definitely be getting to you, and I appreciate that. So I do ask for your grace with helping to watch the comments. Hopefully I don't miss any comments or questions or prayers that I need to add in here, but I'm asking for your grace with each other. And my back is really bothering me today, so I'm just gonna move around a bit and see if that can help. I want to share some more things from Romans 8:37. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. We are more than conquerors. 12:2, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. That better resonate with every single person that sees this video. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. This world, the worldly way we live and function and work and play, is disgusting. We need to rise above it. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. 13:1. Well, I'm going to skip 13:1 because I can go on and on about chapter 13 of Romans, and I have in many of my speeches, so we'll skip that one for now. Isaiah 1:17, though you've probably heard me mention before, tells us that we must seek justice and rebuke the oppressor. And that's in talking to the people of a rebellious nation. Ezekiel 2:3, he was sent to a rebellious nation that has rebelled against God. They and their fathers have been in revolt against me to this very day. And so in Ezekiel 11, verses 1, 2, and 4, when the leaders of the people are given wicked advice to the city, God calls us to speak out against them, to speak the right word at the right time in the right way. These are not just directives to me. These are directives to you, each and every one of you. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, homeschooling families, teachers, police, firefighters, doctors. This is for every single one of you. God is calling you to rebuke the oppressors, to not conform to the patterns of this world, to speak out against the leaders of our government who have gone astray and are giving wicked advice in this city. In doing this, we all need to remember from 2 Timothy 1:7, for God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I'm going to thank my long-term friend, Mark Petzold, for that one. On April 30th, he kept saying that over and over again, and I couldn't quite figure out why it meant so much to me, but I want you guys to listen to that one. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. We are not to be fearful. We are not to fear the evil that has come upon us. We are to fight against it. We are to rest upon God because Romans 8:37, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. We're not supposed to fear. We're supposed to rise up and conquer. Conquer the evil, the patterns of this world that we are not supposed to conform to anymore. Psalm 31, verse 24. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Psalm 56:11. In God I trust, I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is something I need to remind myself of more often, but I need you, each and every one of you, to remind yourself of that. This is to you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you in whatever role you have. You could be a prosecuting attorney watching this video. You could be a justice of the Supreme Court. You could be a librarian, a public school teacher, a paraprofessional, a garbage truck driver, the guy that came out and tested for DTE gas leakages today. You could be a tree trimmer, a news anchor. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Ezekiel 2:6. And you, Son of Man, do not be afraid of them or their words. Do not be afraid of those who are doing this evil. Stand up, rise up, and fight against it. And Ezekiel 2:6 also says, if we continue on, and you, Son of Man, do not be afraid of them or their words. Do not be afraid, though briars and thorns are all around you, and you live among scorpions. Do not be afraid of what they say, or terrified by them, though they are a rebellious house. There are scorpions and thorns all around us. Don't let that hurt you. Rely on God. He is there. So with that in mind, I'm going to try to keep my composure enough to ask for your help in praying for specific people in a very generic sense, for the most part. Many of you know that I have had numerous rape victims that call me that are getting denied service everywhere because they cannot wear masks. Rape victims, veterans who have served our country and have such PTSD that they cannot have their face covered in any way. And they are being fired and kicked out of school and stopped from going to doctor's offices or getting care for their children. I ask that you pray for them. I have a friend who recently lost his job. I'm asking that you pray for him. Yes, amongst all the COVID job losses, I'm asking that you pray for this one friend. I have a friend whose grandson needs our prayers. He's in a transition in his life right now, and I wish I could help. And I'm asking that you pray for him and for her to know how to best help him. I'm asking that you pray for the court system and all the other adults in his life, that he can be cared for in the way that he needs to be cared for. Many of you know of my dad's aunt that passed recently. And I ask that you pray for my family, especially my dad and his sisters, as this is a tough time for them. Sorry. I ask that you pray for the disabled woman who calls me many times and emails me and texts me because she needs my help. And I don't know how to help her. She is being refused physical therapy, regular doctor's appointments and checkups, surgeries that she desperately needs. Hey, Emma, could you hand me a tissue, please? In that drawer. Yep. Or two. How about 2 tissues? Thank you. Are you done with your schoolwork? Okay, you keep working on it, baby. Oops. I ask that you pray for this woman. I first heard about her and her situation when Menards was refusing her service, and it was caught on camera at the end of April. And when I was being interviewed by Marissa Oberly of Fox 17 News about other matters, she just happened to ask me if I had heard about that, and asked my opinion. I was horrified at what had happened. And I have been continually horrified at what has happened to this individual. When she first went into Menards and was refused service for not wearing a mask, she went in a walker. She had to drive herself, has no one there to help her. She finally got into the store. As we all know, Menards, it's not easy. Even the handicap parking is nowhere near the actual front door. She gets all the way in there. She's on oxygen. She's on a walker. She's clearly had serious physical disabilities and traumas in her life. You could tell just by looking at her. All she needed that day, I believe, was a fuse for her oxygen tank, essentially, so she could breathe. That's all she needed. And they wouldn't let her in, and they would not offer to go and get it for her. She had to rely on the kindness of the stranger that was near her that day, who was also being refused service. And his disability is not so obvious to the naked eye. But I believe he went to Lowe's with her that day, or Home Depot, one of the two, and helped her to get the part she needed so she could breathe. That's not the most disgusting thing, though. She is being denied service to get things like MRIs or X-rays. She's being denied physical therapy. She has now been told that the entire Spectrum Health organization is refusing her any services whatsoever. So she's not going to get the surgeries she needs. She's not getting the medical care she needs. And I don't know how to help her anymore. I need you to pray for her. If I'm not the best one to help her, I pray that God sends her someone else who can help her. I got a call today from a grandmother who is begging me to help. This child she wants help for. He's only 13. And 3 years ago, his mother was murdered. And now he's in a very dangerous situation. And she has not been able to find an attorney or CPS or police or anyone else who's willing to help get him out of that dangerous situation. They are only helping to get the other children out of that situation. Please pray that this child gets the help that he needs. He's already suffered enough. He's only 13. Please pray for this grandmother that she knows how to help him. For all the moms and dads who have called me because they're being denied service for their children, the emails, the calls, the text messages. If I haven't responded to you, it's not that I don't care. It's not that I don't want to help you. I have thousands still waiting for responses, and I'm working the best and the hardest I can. But for these, I don't have answers right now. So I'm asking you to please become a prayer warrior. Pray for these parents and their children, their disabled children who are being denied service. They're being refused care for normal doctor's appointments because they cannot wear a mask. They're being denied surgeries for a variety of reasons related to these executive orders. These children are being denied physical therapy and occupational therapy. Disabled children are being denied these services because they can't wear masks. They're being denied traditional ABA therapy. So even if children are wearing masks, any of you who know children on the spectrum, autism spectrum, children who have special needs, you probably know that ABA therapy cannot normally be done very well 6 feet apart from the care provider. Please pray that these care providers of this ABA therapy start utilizing common sense, that the school districts and the medical providers and others that provide this can figure out a way to provide this service for children who need it. And please pray for those who have been denied counseling for a variety of reasons related to COVID-19. I've even heard of people being denied counseling appointments because they cannot wear masks, but they would be given basically a sedative, a medication to help them be able to force themselves to wear a mask instead of just being allowed to have counseling for the underlying issues in the first place. I ask for prayer for each and every one of those individuals suffering through that. I ask for you to pray for the service providers so that they can start to realize the harm they are causing by denying this care. Lord, I also ask for strength for God's people to fight all of this evil. This evil is everywhere. It extends into every area of our lives, in every area of our state and of our country. Lord, I ask that you help us know exactly how it is that we can fight this fight. For each of us to know how to use our gifts and our skills and our talents and abilities and our experiences to do your will, to accomplish the impossible, to move this mountain, to fight this evil. Lord, I ask that you give specific instructions to each and every one of us to help to guide us in a way that is unmistakable, undeniable, helping us to know exactly which way you want us to go, which path you want us to take, which action you want us to do next. Lord, I ask that you provide strength and courage and unending faith and hope for each and every person who is touched by this video, who has clicked on it, who has seen it in their news feed, who has been tagged in it, who has been prayed for in it. Lord, I ask for all of that, for all of those individuals. I'm going to do my best to see if I can scroll and find any prayer requests. Oh, look at that. It doesn't let me go very far back. Just to be clear, I'm not an elected official yet. I am a Republican nominee for the office of Georgetown Township Trustee, but November, you'll have to vote for me if you want me to actually be elected. Sorry, still scrolling to see if I'm missing any prayer requests. Yes, everyone should contact Spectrum. That is something you can do. Besides prayer, you should contact every Spectrum office that you can think of. The local doctor's offices, the billing offices, you name it. If it's Spectrum, a hospital, a small office, a big office, a PT, OT, it doesn't matter. You call them and you demand that they stop discriminating against individuals who cannot wear masks. I'm pretty sure the medical community takes an oath to do no harm. It's doing harm. Denying people proper medical care is doing harm. Whether you believe in the masks or not, it's doing harm to refuse people medical care. How about my dear friend Bill, who sat up north at a hospital, Bronson, I believe, for 6 hours trying to get medical care. He was in such excruciating pain that he could not even walk or do much of anything. And after waiting that long, they finally had security remove him from the building because he couldn't wear a mask. They removed him from the emergency room after having waited 6 hours because he couldn't wear a mask. They need to be sued, but they need to be prayed for. And we need to have people calling, inundating them, flooding them with calls and letters and emails, telling them what a disgrace they are, that those actions are not acceptable. But do pray for them. Pray for them to have an awakening, to realize what it is that they are doing. Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy, to hear about that. Why aren't other attorneys stepping up to help, Catherine? That is very good to know. I would love to know where they all are. I need your help. I need dozens of attorneys willing to take these cases. I need attorneys willing to just work behind the scenes. I need attorneys willing to just call and provide some basic guidance for people on how to handle these situations. I need help because I cannot answer all of these requests by myself. I will keep trying, but we're going to be 2 presidential cycles down the road before I get caught up with all of them if I'm doing it all myself. Still looking to see if I'm missing any prayer requests here. Wow, there's a lot of comments here, guys. UP Marquette Hospital, they are denying services because you cannot wear a mask. That's the only hospital for many hours around for some people to get some services. Shame on you. People, we need to pray. We need to pray for these hospitals. We need to pray for the individuals who need the care. When my grandpa was suffering last summer and couldn't get the care he needed in the Hancock Hospital, they had to move him to the Marquette Hospital. And that's where he spent his last few days. And I was thankful that he was able to get the care he needed at a place that wasn't too awful, far from home, only a couple of hours. But if he had not been able to wear a mask, I can't imagine in his state that he would have been able to do that. And he would have been denied service at Marquette Hospital and had to go who knows where? Guys, we need to pray for them. And please pray for every single parent to know how to best make decisions for their children, whether to homeschool or not, whether to have their children wear a mask to attend school or not. Please pray for all the children and all the parents to know what to do here. Write your story, baby. Yeah, you gotta write some more. You can finish writing a story. Sorry, homeschooling while Facebook praying. Multitasking. So that is long enough time to take up your day right now, because the prayers don't end in this video. These are just the beginning. I'm asking you to take these causes up, the individuals that I mentioned, the businesses or service providers I mentioned. Keep the Bible verses that I mentioned. Keep those in your mind and know that you need to be courageous, that you need to not have a spirit of fear, that you need to stand up, rise up, and fight against this evil. That is what we have been called to do. And no matter what your education or background or profession or experience is, God is calling you to do something in this fight. So please pray. Please pray for all of those individuals. And for those that have just tuned in, just a couple of verses I want you to keep in mind. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godliness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. They are gossips and slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, and ruthless. But we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And in all things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us, and we shall not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. We need to seek justice and rebuke the oppressor. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord. And in God I trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And you, Son of Man, do not be afraid of them or their words. Do not be afraid. Though briars and thorns are all around you, and you live among scorpions, do not be afraid of what they say, or terrified by them, though they are a rebellious house. We are surrounded by thorns and scorpions. The evil is all around us, but do not be afraid. We were not given a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And we are more than conquerors. So I ask you all to keep all that in mind and to pray for each other, and to pray for all those who are causing this harm right now, that they can wake up and see what it is that they are doing. Executive order or not, no more excuses. Pray for them to know what it is they are doing. And for those of you who tuned into this thinking that there's an update on Supreme Court stuff, you are right, but I will go live in about 1 minute, barring any technical difficulties, from the Restore Freedom with Catherine Henry page. So I will be doing that right now. Thanks, guys.